Hi guys, and welcome to my Kestrel guides. This is a Kestrel intended for Factional Warfare in Lowsec. It's not going to go too well in Nullsec with the Afterburner. So this fit is pretty standard. It's a Afterburner brawl type setup. Rocket launchers in the highs, Afterburner, Scram, web, extender, damage control, ballistic control system. I like to roll 2 damage rigs because I think having damage is really important when solo. If you want, you can go with resistance rigs. I think if you want to pimp out the ship, the best rig configuration is probably a Tech 2 damage rig, then 2 resistance rigs. But I like to keep things cheap and cheerful with these 2 Tech 1 rigs. It is a Kestrel after all. For ammo, I think I normally go 2 overboard on ammo. You don't need all these types, even because in most of these fights I actually use kinetic like 90% of the time. And also I think I have too much ammo. This is like 5 reloads of every type of rocket, but you do go through rocket ammo pretty fast, so I think 1,000 is alright. But you don't need that much ammo. The Kestrel is a really strong ship, I think, and it's really underrepresented and it's underestimated a lot. And it actually does very good DPS in the Scram range. This is actually like almost Merlin DPS. The strengths of the Kestrel is that it does a lot of damage at up to 15 kilometers. It doesn't have to worry about tracking disruptors. It doesn't have to worry about newts, which are 2 common things that you'll find in factional warfare. A lot of people fly sort of ships to counter other specific fits of ships, and the Kestrel actually does well against a lot of these ships that specifically fit for other ships. And weaknesses of the Kestrel, it's pretty slow, to be honest. You have a massive signature radius, 45 meter signature radius. It's really hard to evade damage in this Kestrel, which we'll go into a bit later. As for implants, I've got a set of 3% implants here. For all 5 of these, it's about 70 million in jitter, maybe 80 million. Fortunately, there's not that many good cheap implants for the Kestrel. I mean, you could go for 3% micro warp drive, 3% hull, then 1% of these 3. If you do want to keep it, like under 5-6 million for implants. But you're pretty unlikely to get podded in Lowsec. So we're just going to go and look at a few clips, and some of them I do pretty well in, some of them I do actually horrible in, and we'll talk about those. Just look at some matchups for the Kestrel, and what we should be doing against different ships. Okay, we're going to start with something pretty simple with this Merlin fight. So obviously with the Merlin, it's going to have blasters fitted most of the time, so we're just going to orbit it, sort of mid-scram range. Force him to have to use null, and we want to stay at, outside the majority of null's damage range. So this is a pretty simple fight, really. We just need to make sure he doesn't get on top of us. He's overheating now, so he's getting a bit closer to us. But I counter heat as soon as he gets within 3.5 kilometers, and I think he burns out his stuff as well because he drops his web then Scram on me. So I think he burnt out his Afterburner, and then his other mods. So that was a pretty simple fight. Okay, so this next fight was with a Republic Fleet Firetail. It happened almost, about a minute after the Merlin fight. So with a Republic Fleet Firetail, normally we want to, if it's autocannon fit, we want to orbit it at, same tactics as the Merlin really. We want to force him to use barrage. Obviously, if he has to use barrage, that's going to lower his DPS, but also with this Kestrel in particular, because we've got shield buffer, but we don't particularly have any resistances on this Kestrel fit. Forcing him to use explosive damage against us when we have 50% base explosive plus the damage control is going to hurt his DPS a lot. It's going to increase our effective hit points against him by quite a bit. But this Republic Fleet Firetail in particular has artillery fitted, and I noticed that, you know, it's almost immediately as soon as I saw the Alpha Strike, I quickly just got in tight there to try and get my traversal up as much as possible. But unfortunately, this pilot is actually pretty good. He done what he was supposed to do. He double clicked in space, and he also has AB web, so we're actually at the same speed. So he does what he's supposed to do. He double clicks in space. That way, since we're both going at the same speed, it's much harder for me to get. Basically, I can't get an orbit on him. I need to manually pilot, which I was doing, and you know, even then, he still got a lot of clean hits on me. But you know, and you know, we won in half structure, so it was a pretty good fight. Okay, so this next fight is a 2v1 kind of. They're not really together at the same time. So the first one is a Condor. Condor, we just want to brawl down at 0. The reason is a lot of Condor's going to hit us wherever we are, regardless. And you know, Condor is faster than us, so and you know, we don't want to risk, you know, micro warp drive Condor getting in and then just killing us outside of Scram range with light missiles. So we just want to get on top of that as soon as possible. Same for this Slicer. Slicer, we want to get on top of it as soon as possible and just orbit it tightly. The Slicer doesn't have a tracking bonus, and you know, commonly it's micro warp drive long point with medium pulse. So as you can see, the Kestrel's not so good at evading damage because it has a 45mm signature radius. For reference, a Slasher has 30, so it's like 50% higher. But you know, the tracking on small focus pulse is pretty bad, and the Slicer doesn't have a tracking bonus, so you can evade a lot of the damage that way. But you know, he's still got a few hits on me. Okay, so this next fight is with a Federation Navy Comet. It's actually a Rail Comet, which I didn't notice to begin with. So you know, if it's a Blaster Comet, what I'm doing right now is perfect. If it's a Rail Comet, I should have been up close and orbiting it at 500. This guy doesn't have a web either, which I should have picked up upon, because I could have like really screwed up his tracking by orbiting closely. Then you know, a gang comes in anyway and I die. I should have orbited that guy 500 meters. I probably would have died anyway because of that, you know, really big frigate gang that was coming in anyway. But you know, that last rocket volley as well would have killed him, which is kind of annoying. if I lived an extra 5 seconds. Because this is a fight with a Rifter. Against the Rifter, same tactics as all autocannon ships really. We just want to stay at range, force him to use barrage, which you know, as I mentioned, we have really good explosive resistances on our shield, and also barrage is a lower damage ammo, and also since we're you know, the further we are from it, the more he is in fall off and the less of his actual damage he's dealing. So you know, that's a pretty clean and easy fight. Not much more to say really. Okay, so this is a fight against an Incursus, against just all blaster ships. You know, we're gonna stay at range. We're gonna stay at the far end of Scram range as far as possible. We don't want this guy to get on top of us. Right now he's heating. I need to counter heat, which yeah, I did. And you know, just gotta make sure you look at the velocity of the ship and know when they're heating. So now I'm counter heating. Now I'm at the same speed as him and he's not quite in range, and you know, just kite him perfectly. Easy clean fight really. This is the same guy. He came back in an Imperial Navy Slicer. I just wanted to show you you know, orbit 500, you know the drill. Slicer doesn't get a tracking bonus, orbit 500, focus small pulse, bad tracking. Even though your Kestrel is super fat, you just need to orbit. So this is a fight where I actually lose. I feel like I played optimally, except for like being a bit sloppy with the targeting. But yeah, against a Crusader and pulse ships in general, you want to force them to use Scourge, because that's going to lower their DPS. So I burn away from him and overload everything. A Tech 2 ship in a Kestrel is obviously a hard fight. Unfortunately, you can't really beat a Crusader in a Kestrel. You just want to force them to use Scourge. You can't out-track a Crusader; it has a tracking bonus. So you just want to be as far away as possible. Force him to use Scourge. Force him to use the lower damage ammo. Another Incursus fight. This one's actually really cool because it's really close. This is actually a Rail Incursus, and again I'm really bad at noticing these sort of things. I should look more at sort of the damage notifications, but this guy is using rails, and you can see on the screen there 125 mil. I should have noticed that. I think this guy has links. I'm not 100% sure though, so I don't want to say that anyway. So it's going to stay at this range just so he can't use spike. I should have been orbiting 500. As soon as you notice the railgun should orbit 500, but he does have a web, so he can negate my tracking anyway. So I think maybe it's better just to stay here and force him to have to use slightly less damaging ammo. And as you can see, I burn everything out. But I get quite lucky here. It's a really close fight. So this is another Rifter fight. This one goes it's a bit closer than the other one. But you just need to stay at range, force them to use long damage ammo. Pretty simple. This is an awesome bug that happens sometimes with these clouds in Eve. There are no bugs in Eve. So this is a Hookbill fight. Now Hookbill is a kind of a weird fight because the Hookbill is very similar to the Kestrel. What I recommend to do is most Hookbills normally just fit like double web, AB Scram, TD, or a tank or something. So my advice would be just get on top of that guy and overheat and pray. I mean, the Kestrel isn't actually that much worse than the Hookbill in direct 1v1 combat. It's just that the Hookbill has the extra mid slot. And I don't know why I burnt out my stuff. I shouldn't have been heating at all. Shouldn't have been heating the mid slots at all, which is a stupid mistake for me. It could have really easily cost my ship because there's like two guys coming in now into this plex. But yeah, works out for me this time. There was no need for me to overheat my mids in that fight. So that was a bit of a mistake for me. You don't have to overheat the web or Scram when you're on top of the guy. You don't need to overheat your afterburner when you're double webbed. You're going to take full damage anyway. Okay, so Executioner fight. That I'm pretty bad in this. I'm pretty slow. I should have just scrammed him initially, but I don't for whatever reason. I decided to leave the guy. But this guy is using sort of like Scorch with Locust rigs. But he does come in a bit close, I feel. I get a web on him. Obviously he counter webs me, but he comes in too close. I think, and it's just a straight up DPS brawl here. Rockets versus lasers with Scourge. Executioner does get a tracking bonus, so I want to stay away from him, even though he's using Scourge and using Locust rigs. The best place for us to be is still as far away as possible, just web range basically, so we can apply our full DPS. If the Executioner is forced to use Scorch, then we're at a DPS advantage. if he gets on top of us, even though he is locust rigged and he's fit for long range fighting against other turret ships, the best place for him to be against us, actually, in a straight up brawl, if he's not outside our rocket range, is to be on top of us so he can use Conflag or Imperial Navy multi-frequency, which does more damage than Scourge. And that fight was pretty funny because we both killed each other. You know, this is against a Republic Fleet Firetail. Against Republic Fleet Firetail, this one is an autocannon one. Again, you know, standard, you know the drill. Orbit far away. Don't let him use Republic Fleet EMP. Don't let him use Hail. Orbit far away, so he's forced to use barrage on your 50% base explosive resistances, and barrage does less damage. I've mentioned that a lot, but that's just how you need to play it. And not much else really to say about this fight. Just well, not as clean as you'd think, but you know, pretty good kill, pretty safe kill. So this is a fight against the Punisher, round 1. I actually don't kill him in this fight, and he doesn't kill me. But let's talk about the Punisher a bit. The Punisher doesn't get a tracking bonus. It also doesn't get an optimal bonus. A lot of Punishers just try and fit sort of like brawl tank. So this guy is shooting multi-frequency at me for whatever reason, I don't know. He switched to Scourge now, and I tried to win this like straight up brawl fight with him by using rockets, but it's pretty clear that I'm not going to win the fight, so I leave. Unfortunately, Punisher is a very strong sort of like tanky dual ship. I don't mean tanky duelist. I mean, you can't really beat it in a direct DPS race, which is true for a lot of Amar ships. So this is a rematch with the Punisher. In this time we're going to exploit the fact that the Punisher doesn't have a tracking bonus, and this fight is actually really close again. I didn't realise it after I killed him. He actually fit a kinetic hardener in this fight, so he actually fit a hardener specific for me because I was using kinetic against him. But yeah, as you can see, the Punisher has difficulty tracking the Kestrel, even though the Kestrel is super fat with a 45 meter signature radius. I'm able to evade a lot of his damage. See, he's getting like grazes, glances off, miss there. So even though he can beat me in like a straight up duel, even if he's using Scourge, by staying at by just orbiting him tightly, I'm evading a lot of his damage. And I really need to overheat my Afterburner a lot. It really helps. And I'm also manually piloting here. I'm double clicking in space quite a bit on purpose to create sharp angles so he can't track me. So one thing you can see that he's doing that is not optimal, that he would have killed me actually. Look at his velocity. It's clear he's got like approach on me or orbit on me or something, or keep at range on me. I only have a web. A Punisher that's webbed is going to go faster than 100 meters a second. What he should do is double click in space. If he double clicked in space right here, I would be dead. I would be so dead if he just double clicked in space instead of just floundering around like this. As you can see, I overloaded my Afterburner, but I think I needed to. And yeah, we win with 4% structure. It's a really close fight. One that I shouldn't have been able to win actually, if the pilot was a bit better. I think that just goes to show, just wanted to show you that for the tracking. So this is a fight with a Slasher. Unfortunately, I didn't really get any decent fights with a Thrasher. This one is a bit too clean for my liking, but and also I'm a bit of an idiot only having 10 rockets loaded here. You know, make sure you reload. But this guy dies just really quickly. This is a sort of Afterburner Scram web booster Slasher that, you know, just dies. You know, against a Slasher, normally they have a new and a tracking disruptor, sometimes with auxiliary medium shield booster. And what you need to do is you need to, I mean, we don't give a shit about news really, but what you want to do is just want to stay at range, like all autocannon ships. You know, force him to use barrage. Don't let him get on top of you. And this is a fight against a breacher that I completely fuck up. And so the Punisher gets revenge on me. He messed up in the other fight. I messed up hardcore in this fight. So the mistake is that I'm just fucking at 0 MS on top of him. He doesn't have a web. I should be orbiting him like 5,000 meters. So his rocket DPS doesn't apply because I have a web. He doesn't. I should be exploiting that by, you know, trying to mitigate as much of his rocket DPS as possible, but I don't. I just sit on top of him like an idiot. Complete idiot. So this is really bad. I don't know, I was really tired at the time, and I just thought that I could like win a brawl with him. But you know, I would have won that fight probably if I just orbited 5,000 meters. That breach of it was like AV Scram double micro auxiliary shield booster. I should have orbited at 5,000 meters and just you know, overloaded Afterburner and, you know, not be as terrible as I was in that clip. So that's the Kestrel for you. I think that really highlights the strength of the Kestrel. It is a very powerful ship. Weaknesses of the Kestrel, you know, it's really hard to sometimes exploit the tracking on your opponent's ships because you're so fat. 45mm signature radius is pretty big. You know, 50% bigger than a Slasher. It's like a hyena target painter on a Slasher, which is you know, pretty bad. You know, the Kestrel is very strong in Scram range against a lot of popular archetypes in Factional Warfare. I think that the Kestrel can beat almost every Techcon frigate. Obviously, the hardest fights for you are going to be Punisher, maybe Tormentor, but you never really see those. Tormentor's a strong ship too. I should do a video on that ship because still no one uses it. And what else? Obviously, you know, Rail, sort of long range fits that also have AB web. Because, well, I don't know if they're like a direct counter. You know, obviously fighting faction ships is hard. Another point to make about the Kestrel is that the Kestrel doesn't fare well against skirmish links at all. So, you know, if you're solo, I don't recommend fighting people who are linked at all, but just bear in mind that if someone has skirmish links, especially the evasive maneuvering link, combined with rapid deployment, if you just load that up in EFT, you can see that just someone having those two links just drops your DPS by, you know, nearly 60%. Like, So, you know, don't fight anyone with links, because you won't do any DPS to them. You know, if, you know, fighting people with links was already a bad idea, but you know what I mean when you're solo. Oh, man.